guys, it's Ty and welcome back to my channel. So today I just kind of wanted to do a recommendations video recommending some books to you guys in case you hit a reading slump, because I am definitely there. I have hit a little reading slump and it is only the beginning of the year. I think my problem is I went too hard at the end of December, all of January, because I was trying to get a good start on my reading year and your girl is tired. And so anytime that I hit a reading slump, my main thing is if I'm gonna pick something up during that time, I want it to be good from the minute I pick it up to the minute that I put it down. I want it to be something that's going to grab me. I want it to be something that is going to entertain me from the first page to the last page. And I want it to be something that's going to be quick. I want it to be something that's going to be fast paced, just something that is going to just grip me from start to finish. Luckily for you guys, all of these books that I have picked out that I'm going to talk about, I feel like do just that. So I try to pick things from different genres. I have a mix of adult and young adult because that's what I tend to read. So we will go ahead and get started. So one of the things that I have been trying to dip my toes into is graphic novels. I have only read 2 different kinds of graphic novels. So the only one that I'm going to recommend to you guys today is going to be I Hate Fairyland by Scotty Young, which I really enjoyed. And this is basically just about our main character by the name of Gertrude, who is a young girl who is in her bedroom one day and she actually gets sucked into fairyland, and she finds herself in fairyland for 36 years, and during that time she is trying to find her way out. Essentially, she finds herself a grown woman trapped inside of a young girl's body. And so you would think with the title I Hate Fairyland that this would be like a more of like a fluffy young adult graphic novel, but it's not. This is very violent, it's very graphic, it has curse words in it, and this was fantastic. If you can kind of tell just from the picture, it's kind of violent with the axe and the blood. And then you also have pictures like this. You can see that. This is actually really good. This is just like one of those graphic novels. I promise you, once you read the first one, you're gonna want to read the other ones. And there are 4 volumes in this series. I would highly recommend this. So the next 2 books that I am going to recommend are actually romance books. One is going to be an adult book and the other one is going to be a young adult book. And the first one is going to be the adult book, and that is going to be How to Fail at Flirting by Denise Williams. And this one follows our main character by the name of Naya. She has recently gotten out of a really abusive relationship. And in this relationship, she was basically physically abused, emotionally abused. And so she decides that she's going to try to take another stab at going back out on the dating scene. And so one night while she's out with her friend, she kind of comes up with this like generic list of things she's going to try. And so she actually meets this guy by the name of Jake, and they hit it off. They end up going back to the room, kind of like having a one-night stand. And from there, they actually continue to see each other. While all of that is going on, she is actually a professor at a university, and at the university, her job is actually going through some cuts with the jobs. And so Jake actually works at this company that is helping with the cuts at her job. And so it's kind of a conflict of interest. And so while she is dealing with all of that that's going on, her ex-boyfriend ends up coming back into her life. So there's a lot that is going on in this story. There is never a dull moment that is in this story. The romance that happens in the story is nice and cute and fluffy, and you will just love Naya and Jake's relationship. You will end up hating her ex-boyfriend, obviously, because of the things that she has gone through. This one will keep you on your toes. When I read this, I could not put this down. I think I devoured this in about a day or 2. I would definitely recommend this. And I don't think this one gets the love that it deserves. I just picked up another book by this author. I haven't read it yet. I've started seeing other people talk about it. I cannot wait to read that one. So I would definitely pick this one up. So then the next one that I have is Letters to the Lost by Bridget Kimmerer. And this one is a young adult romance. And so this one follows our main character by the name of Juliet, who recently lost her mother. And so she actually leaves letters on her mother's gravestone. And one day she actually gets a response to one of her letters. And so we find out that the person that is responding to her letters is our other main character by the name of Declan. And so this story just follows our two main characters as they are corresponding with each other back and forth with these letters. And we kind of find out that one of the characters ends up finding out that they are writing to each other, but the other one doesn't find out who the other one is, if that makes sense. And so we actually find out some things in each of their past. And this is kind of like one of those cute romance, but it's sad at the same time. And it's just a lot that goes on. And I really enjoyed this one. Again, this is one of those stories that once you really get into it, you're not going to want to put it down. This is also one of those ones that really hooked me once I got into it. I finished it within a day or two. And this is also from the author that wrote The Curse So Dark and Lonely. I don't really hear too many people talking about this one, although this is an older book from her. You won't be disappointed and you will be able to fly through this one. So check it out. So the next two books that I'm going to talk about are going to be two adult horror novellas. And the first one I'm going to talk about is The Night of the Mannequins by Stephen Graham Jones. And this one is actually a hit or miss with some people, but this one is actually about a group of friends who finds this like mannequin that looks like a real person. And so they decide that they're going to take it to this movie theater one night, and one of their friends actually works at the movie theater. So they kind of set it up in the movie theater and hope that their friend is going to stumble upon it and be scared. But then one of the friends actually notices that the mannequin moves and gets up and walks out of the theater. The story takes off from there. I really enjoyed this. This is like one of those books that does not go in the direction that you think that it's going to go. It's classified as a horror. I do think that it is somewhat spooky, I guess. It definitely leaves you with a lot of questions at the end. And I think it's going to leave you with a lot of questions whether you like it or not. But I really enjoyed this. Like I said, it's a hit or miss with a lot of people. But I think the author, Stephen Graham Jones, his work is hit or miss with a lot of people in general. So you're either going to like this or not. But I would definitely give this a try because it is so short. It's, it's a novella. It's less than, it's only like 120 pages. So you'll definitely be able to fly through this. I'm telling you, this will definitely keep your attention. Again, whether you like it or not, it's definitely going to keep your attention because you're going to be wondering what the heck is going on. And I really enjoyed this one. This was definitely one of my most surprising reads of 2021, last year. So if you're gonna read anything from Stephen Graham Jones, I would definitely start off with this one. So the next horror novella that I want to talk about, which I also think is kind of like a weird one, and I can't really talk too much about that one because I don't want to spoil anything for that, but that is Sour Candy by Kellen Patrick Burke. So Sour Candy is about what looks to be this father and son, but it actually is about this man who is attached to this boy who doesn't want to be, but he has no choice because the little boy is not just an ordinary little boy. That's the best that I can do without giving anything away. It's creepy. It's weird. The first few pages, I'm telling you, will have you hooked. I read this book in the dark. Probably wouldn't recommend doing that, but I would definitely read this one. It is a little weird. Just like Night of the Mannequins, these books are weird. So if you're someone that kind of likes the the strange horror, if you're like on the strange horror side, I would definitely give these a try. Again, these are like barely 100 pages. I think Sour Candy is even shorter than Night of the Mannequins. They will fly by for you, especially Sour Candy. I think it's even stranger than Night of the Mannequins. It will fly by. It will keep your attention. This will definitely help you with your reading slump. So the next few books that I'm going to talk about are going to be sci-fi fantasy, and these are going to actually be some series. And I know when I talk about trying to get out of reading slumps, you're probably like, why would I recommend series? Well, I'm telling you, these two series that I'm going to recommend, once you read the first book, you are going to want to read the rest of the books in these series. And the first one that I'm going to talk about is science fiction, and that is going to be The Sleeping Giants, which is the first book in the Themis Files by Sylvain Neuvel. And this is actually following our main character. Her name is Rose, and when she was, I think, around like 10 years old, I think, she is riding her bike, and she actually falls into this hole. And while she's in the hole, she realizes that she falls onto this like big robotic hand. And then we follow her several years later. She has grown up, and she has actually become a scientist, and she is working to try to figure out what exactly this hand is. They figure out that this is actually a robotic hand, and all around the world, different parts of this robot have started to appear, and they are trying to put it together. And so we are following these characters, a lot of different characters, as they are trying to figure out what happens when they put this robot together and what actually this robot is doing here on Earth. And so in all of these books in the series, there's 3 books in the series. So we have Sleeping Giants, Waking Gods, and Only Human. All of these books are told in mixed media format. So we have it in interview styles, journal entries, letters, your typical mixed media format. So this makes for a really, really quick, easy read. Again, this is one of those series that I said, once you read this one, you are going to want to read the next ones. I really enjoyed this series. I thought it was fast. I thought it was really entertaining. I'm not really a fan of the third one, but overall, I thought the series was pretty good. I think if this is your first introduction into science fiction, I would definitely start here. This is my first book by this author. I think he has like another series that's out that's kind of somewhat similar to this. But if you're trying to check out something by this author, I would definitely start here. This is really good. Like I said, really fast paced, really interesting. And the mixed media really makes this a really fast read. So then the next series that I am going to recommend is an adult fantasy series. And this one is going to look ridiculous when I say that I'm trying to recommend it as far as getting through a reading slump. But hear me out, because it is really good. It's really fast paced. And I promise you, when you start it, you are not going to want to put it down. And that is going to be Theft of Swords by Michael J. Sullivan. And so this actually follows our 2 main characters, Royce and Hadrian, and they are 2 thieves, and they are actually sent on this mission to try and steal this sword. And while they're in the middle of this mission, they actually get framed for murder, and then the story basically takes off from there. This looks crazy, and it's 3 books, and each of these books are actually a bind up of 2 books. So the first book in the series is Theft of Swords, and this is a bind up of The Crown Conspiracy in Avenpartha. Then we have Rise of Empire, which is a bind up of Nifron Rising and the Emerald Sword. And then we have Heir of Novron, which is a bind up of Wintertide and Persepliquis. I think I said that right. But I'm telling you, this is going to go by so fast. But I think this is like the first published work by Michael J. Sullivan. And I really think this is an excellent starting point for anybody that is trying to get into adult fantasy. This is where I should have started when I was trying to get into adult fantasy, but we're not even going to go there. This has everything that I feel like when I'm looking for something in adult fantasy that I want. So this has the bromance. So Royce and Hadrian, their friendship is excellent. I love these two characters. Hadrian, I love Hadrian. I love Royce. It has a little bit of romance. You have wizards in here, you have elves in here, you have other mythical creatures in here, you have them traveling. So if you're like someone that likes those quest stories, you have that in here. If you're somebody that likes the stories where people are like on boats and stuff. I'm not really like a person that likes when they go on boats, but if you like that, that's in here. I feel like everything that you can want out of a fantasy book, at some point you get that through this entire series. Everything is in here. I love this, and it is so fast paced. There is never a slow moment, and I'm telling you, as soon as you get done with this one, you are going to want to read the next one, because even though these seem like complete like stories, there's like this overarching story that is happening, and you're going to want to finish everything to figure out what is going on at the end. So I would definitely recommend this entire series if you are going through your slump and you are trying to maybe pick up like a fantasy story. Like if that's what you are in the mood for, I would definitely pick this one up. And then my last picks that I have are going to be some mystery thrillers. And I actually have a couple adult, and then we have some young adult. So my first adult I have, which is going to be no surprise to anyone, and I wasn't even going to mention it because I feel like I've talked about it enough, but I can't sing its praises enough, and that is going to be Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. This has everything that you're going to want. This is very fast paced. So this is about two fathers who have lost their sons to a tragic murder. Both of their sons were gay and married to each other. And this story follows Ike, who is black, and Buddy Lee, who is white, who have decided that they are going to team up together to avenge their son's murder. So this, to me, reads more so like a movie. It has a lot of action. It's a budding friendship. It's a lot of them going back and forth. It's a lot of them trying to discover things about their son. It's them discovering things about themselves. Fast paced. It's a lot of things going on. I'm telling you guys, when you pick this up, you are not going to want to put it down. It's just a lot going on. There's sad moments. There's funny moments. I cannot sing this book's praises enough. This is the only, you know what? I don't really care for like book to movie adaptations, but this is like the one book that I'm like, I need a movie. Like I need somebody to make a movie, and I need it to be good. I need everybody to read this because I'm telling you, this is good. If you need something to get you out of your slump, I would pick this up because this will give you everything you are looking for. I swear, I promise it will. And then the next adult mystery that I actually have not read it for a long time, so I'm a little fuzzy on the details, but I remember reading it and really enjoying it and it gripping me. And I haven't heard too many people talk about this one, and that is That Night by Chevy. Is it Chevy Stevens? And this is about our main character by the name of Tony, who has actually been accused of her, I think it's her younger sister. Yeah, her younger sister's murder. And she has actually been to jail along with her boyfriend, Ryan. They both were accused of her younger sister's murder. And they actually ended up getting out of jail. And so they are dealing with the fallout of that. And so once they are out on parole, Ryan is dead set on trying to figure out exactly what happened to Tony's sister and how she ended up murdered. And Tony is just trying to get through her day-to-day life. And she is trying to deal with her mother, who is not really believing that Tony had nothing to do with the murder. And she's also trying to deal with these girls who tormented her while she was in high school and who might not be as innocent as they seem. So this book in a way, to me, when I remember reading it, and I've said this kind of about a lot of mysteries that I read, it kind of read like a Lifetime movie. If you know what I mean, you know. If you're somebody that watched a lot of those old school Lifetime movies, you know what I mean. And if you have read this, you really know what I mean. But it kind of read like one of those to me. But I really enjoyed this one. It's kind of like, it's not slow paced. Like, that's not what I'm trying to say. It's like a slow burn. It's a slow burn. But it's interesting. I'm not doing a good job at selling this, but this is good. I enjoyed this one. I have heard mixed things about like her other books, but like I said, I haven't heard too many people talk about this one. But this one, I think it goes in a direction that I don't think a lot of people can pick up on. At least I didn't. And that's what I really liked about this one. And I actually really like the slow burn of this one. So I really like this. This is like one of those that left a lasting impression on me. And I read this a long time ago. And the fact that I still have it says something. But I really enjoyed this one, and I would definitely give this one a try. And then guys, the last series, yes, it's a series, but if you have been on my channel and you have listened to me talk about young adult mystery thrillers, you know that I had to recommend this one, because if you are going through a slump and you need something that's fast-paced and you need something that's good, and all three of these books in this series is good, you know that I had to recommend this, and that is going to be A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. This series is bomb, and I would definitely highly recommend the audiobook if you're going to check this series out. So this follows our main character by the name of Pip, who is a high school senior, and she is working on her senior capstone, and she decides that she is going to do her capstone project over the murder case of Andy Bell and Sal Singh, who were murdered 5 years ago. And she decides that she is going to re-examine this case because she does not believe that Andy Bell was murdered by Sal Singh like the police has led the public to believe. So we are just following Pip as she does her investigation. So this is one of those books that is also told through the mixed media format. So we are following the story through Pip's capstone project, through police interviews, through text messages, through emails. We have different maps that Pip drew out of like the crime scene, and this is just excellent. And so as the series progresses, we are also following her as she starts her own podcast. So in the next book in the series, which is Good Girl, Bad Blood, she has actually started her own podcast, which is called A Good Girl's Guide to Murder, where she is trying to solve the case of another student. And then we have the final book in the series, which is called As Good as Dead, which in my opinion, I feel takes a turn from the other two books, but I still highly enjoyed. I would highly recommend this series, especially if you are someone that likes a good mystery thriller book. And like I said, if you're someone that still enjoys like young adult, this is a fantastic young adult mystery thriller. It is really fast paced. It is really engaging. It is definitely something that will hook you from the first book to the last book. It is something that I think you will want to consume the entire series once you start. I have not heard anyone say a bad thing about the series like once they started. I would definitely highly recommend. This is one of my all-time favorite series. I have done nothing but rave about this since I have read it. I completed the series last year. I definitely think this will help you get through a reading slump if you are in one. Well, that is all that I have for you guys today. I hope that these recommendations will help you out if you are in a reading slump. I probably need to take my own advice, and I might need to reread some of these because, listen, your girl is in some trouble right now, and I need to get back at it. So that is all that I have for you guys, and I hope to see you guys next time.